How to pray effectively. Prayer, a deeply personal and spiritual practice, transcends religious boundaries and offers individuals a profound means of connection with the divine, the universe, or their inner selves. Praying effectively, however, requires more than mere repetition of words or ritual. It demands intentionality, sincerity, consistency, and an understanding of both spiritual principles and human psychology. Whether practiced within the framework of Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, Judaism, or in a non-religious spiritual context, effective prayer begins with the heart and is sustained by discipline, clarity, and openness. To begin with, the foundation of effective prayer is sincerity. Prayer is not about impressing others or following a rote script. It is a communication that stems from the depths of one's soul. Sincerity means praying with genuine intent, expressing true feelings, desires, fears, and gratitude. The scriptures of many traditions emphasize that God or the divine listens not to eloquent words but to the purity of heart. In Christianity, Jesus warns against vain repetitions and calls for private, heartfelt prayers. In Islam, the Prophet Muhammad emphasized humility and presence of heart, khushu, in Salah, the formal prayers. Similarly, Hinduism teaches that mantras must be chanted with devotion and mindfulness, not merely by habit. The key is not the length of the prayer but the depth of feeling behind it. This leads to the second essential aspect, focus and presence. To pray effectively, one must eliminate distractions and be fully present in the moment. Modern life is noisy, fast-paced, and often overwhelming, making it difficult to calm the mind. Creating a conducive environment, a quiet space, a specific time of day, or even a designated corner or room, can help facilitate concentration. Many find early mornings or late evenings effective for prayer due to the natural quietness of those times. Meditation techniques, such as focusing on the breath, repeating a sacred word, or visualizing light, can aid in centering the mind before beginning to pray. When the mind is quiet, prayer becomes clearer, more intentional, and spiritually richer. Another important element in effective prayer is consistency. Just like any relationship, a connection with the divine grows stronger with regular communication. A one-time prayer in desperation may offer temporary relief, but consistent prayer fosters spiritual resilience and deepens one's faith. In every major religion, daily or multiple times daily prayer is encouraged as a way to anchor the soul. It becomes a spiritual habit, a rhythm that aligns one's life with higher purpose. Even on days when one doesn't feel particularly spiritual or inspired, maintaining the habit of prayer can recenter the mind and heart. Over time, it becomes not just something one does, but part of who one is. Along with consistency, clarity and specificity are also vital. Effective prayer involves knowing what one is asking for or expressing. This doesn't mean prayer should be rigid or overly structured, but rather that it should have a clear focus. For instance, if one is praying for strength, it helps to identify what situation requires that strength. If one is expressing gratitude, naming specific blessings enhances the emotional impact. Specific prayers can also increase faith because they make it easier to recognize when prayers have been answered. It's like sending a clear message rather than a vague wish into the universe. Just as important as asking, however, is listening. Prayer is not a one-way communication. It involves both speaking and receiving. After expressing oneself through prayer, it is beneficial to spend a few moments in silence, openness, and receptivity. Some refer to this as listening to God, while others see it as tuning into inner wisdom or intuition. This receptive state can lead to insights, peace, or a subtle sense of guidance. It is in these quiet moments that one often receives comfort, direction, or a deeper understanding of their situation. Gratitude is another essential aspect of effective prayer. Often, people approach prayer with a list of requests and forget to acknowledge the blessings they already have. Gratitude shifts the focus from scarcity to abundance and opens the heart to more. It aligns the mind with positivity and makes future prayers more powerful. Gratitude can be expressed for tangible blessings, health, family, food, as well as for inner qualities like courage, resilience, or love. Many spiritual teachers suggest beginning every prayer with thanks, as it sets the tone and creates a sense of connection. Moreover, aligning prayer with action is crucial. Prayer is not meant to replace responsibility but to empower it. For example, praying for success in an exam must be accompanied by diligent study. Praying for better health should be paired with efforts to eat well and exercise. When prayer is backed by aligned action, it becomes a powerful force for transformation. It activates faith and reinforces the belief that one's intentions are worthy and actionable. In this way, prayer becomes both a spiritual and practical tool for creating change. Another technique for enhancing prayer is the use of sacred texts or prayers written by others. Sometimes, words fail us or emotions overwhelm us, and in those moments, turning to psalms, mantras, or written prayers can provide a framework. These prayers often encapsulate timeless truths and universal emotions. The Lord's Prayer in Christianity, the Serenity Prayer in recovery communities, the Gayatri Mantra in Hinduism, or the Shema in Judaism are examples of time-honored prayers that continue to provide solace and strength. These can be memorized, recited, or even rewritten in personal language. Visualization is another powerful method to deepen prayer. By visualizing the outcome of a prayer, seeing oneself healed, reconciled, protected, or achieving a goal, one strengthens belief and connects emotionally with the desired reality. This technique, used in many spiritual traditions and even in modern manifestation practices, enhances the feeling of faith and brings mental clarity. When paired with verbal prayer, visualization creates a fuller sensory experience, engaging mind and spirit together. Emotional honesty is critical in effective prayer. Too often, people believe they must pray with perfect faith or ideal emotions. But some of the most powerful prayers come from brokenness, doubt, or anger. The Hebrew Psalms, for example, include laments and complaints alongside praises and thanks. God, or the higher self, can handle raw emotion. Expressing frustration, fear, or sadness in prayer is not a sign of weakness, it is a path to healing. Being emotionally real in prayer deepens authenticity and makes the experience more transformative. Praying effectively also involves humility and surrender. While it's healthy to pray for specific outcomes, it's equally important to acknowledge that we do not control everything. The phrase, "Thy will be done," in Christian prayer or "Inshallah," in Islam reflects the wisdom of letting go and trusting a higher plan. Surrender does not mean passivity. Rather, it is a peaceful acceptance that sometimes the answer to a prayer may be, no, or, not yet. When this mindset is embraced, even unanswered prayers become part of a larger journey of growth. Community prayer is another enriching dimension. While personal prayer is intimate and essential, praying with others can bring a sense of shared strength and unity. In religious settings, group prayers are common and often highly structured. In more informal settings, prayer circles or family prayers can foster emotional support and collective intention. There is also scientific evidence suggesting that group prayer and collective intention can influence outcomes, though such findings remain debated. What is clear, however, is that communal prayer can deepen one's sense of belonging and shared humanity. Additionally, journaling prayers can be a powerful practice. Writing out prayers helps clarify thoughts and emotions. It provides a record that can later reveal how prayers were answered, shifted, or evolved. A prayer journal becomes a spiritual archive, a tangible testimony of growth, struggle, and grace. It also encourages reflection and mindfulness. Writing can slow the mind, allowing for deeper introspection. In many ways, prayer journaling is like a conversation with the self and the divine simultaneously. One must also consider the role of faith in effective prayer. Faith is not blind belief, it is a conviction born of experience and trust. It is believing that one's prayers matter, that there is meaning in the act itself, and that help, whether internal or external, will come. Faith is what sustains prayer during dry seasons when results seem delayed. Cultivating faith can involve studying sacred texts, reflecting on past experiences of divine help, or learning from spiritual mentors. It is a dynamic force that strengthens over time, especially when exercised regularly. Finally, effective prayer involves transformation. The ultimate goal of prayer is not just to get what one wants, but to become who one is meant to be. True prayer molds character, softens hearts, strengthens resolve, and aligns the individual with divine will or universal harmony. When approached sincerely and consistently, prayer has the power to change perspectives, heal wounds, renew hope, and spark insight. It becomes a catalyst for personal and spiritual evolution. In summary, to pray effectively is to pray with sincerity, presence, consistency, clarity, gratitude, and humility. It involves both speaking and listening, asking and surrendering, feeling and acting. It draws on tradition but remains deeply personal. Whether whispered in a quiet room, chanted in a temple, or written in a journal, effective prayer is a sacred bridge between the finite and the infinite, between the human heart and the divine mystery. It is, at its core, an act of faith and love, a humble reaching out that, in turn, reaches back to shape the soul and the world.